And then there's Brave and the Bold issue number 75, The Grasp of Sean Z. Again, written by Bob Haney, or as a number of fans and historians like to refer to him, Crazy Bob Haney, with art by Ross Andrew. And this is an interesting story. Kind of tough to place the location of this story in terms of which Earth this story takes place on. Basically, a happy, smiley Batman is attending a Chinese New Year celebration in Gotham City, and he's friendly with the unofficial mayor of Chinatown, and Batman's taking part in the celebrations, and he's tickled pink that it's the year of the bat. But the festivities are disrupted by the appearance of the spirit of Shanzi, who is looking to claim a new human body to be his new vessel. And fortunately, Jim Corrigan happens to be out of town, and he comes in with Commissioner Gordon. And so the Spectre is able to exit Corrigan's body and help Batman in taking down Shanzi. Now, what's difficult about this is the Batman who we're seeing in this story appears, by all accounts, to be the Earth 1 Batman. He's got the Infantino designed new look Batman costume, the highlight being the bat and the yellow oval logo. And in fact, this story was presented before the Earth 2 Batman was even introduced. But there's no explanation as to how Corrigan, the Spectre, and the Earth 1 Batman are together on the same plane of reality. There's nothing in the dialogue which suggests that Corrigan and the Spectre have popped over to Earth 1 to pay a visit to Commissioner Gordon and to help out Batman. Also, for all this is a Batman who looks like the Earth 1 Batman, yes, it is a Batman from 1967, so this is still about 4 years before the Daniel Neal Adams run, which brought Batman back to his very, very dark roots. But still, this Batman seems a little too happy, smiley, and comfortable being in public with a large crowd, even for this time. And it's stories like these that were written by Bob Haney that appeared in Brave and the Bold, which led to the, at first, unofficial creation of Earth B. I'm going to do a whole episode about the history of Earth B somewhere in 2019. It's just a fascinating history of an Earth that was created half jokingly by editor Bob Rozakis and then was given an official designation by Mark Waid after Crisis on Infinite Earths. Just what you need to know for now, folks, is that Earth B is often explained as an Earth upon which stories where heroes who were normally from separate universes were able to interact with each other. And the concept was that on Earth B, there was a Batman who looked very much like the Earth 1 Batman, but he was an entirely separate Batman, and there were other heroes that appeared on Earth B and who the Earth B Batman was familiar with. Certainly, Sergeant Rock and Wildcat were citizens of Earth B. But as well, you look at the story and you think, okay, did Earth B have its own Spectre? Or looking at a story like this, it does lead some credence to the fan idea that the Spectre, although being native to Earth too, was actually able to cross quite easily to other Earths, such as Earth B, and was just able to insinuate himself quite easily into the universe. And in fact, that appears to be much the case in the Bronze Age, which I'll be talking about next episode. The easy way out would be to say, well, this is just an Earth One story, and it's Bob Haney saying, look, I don't care to talk about the multiverse. I don't care to talk about continuity. I just want to write a Batman and Spectre story. But it is fun to speculate and say, hey, does this actually take place on an Earth B? Okay, getting back to Volume 1 of the Spectre. As I mentioned, this series lasted only 10 issues, and given that the creative team was constantly changing, it suggests to me that folks in DC editorial at the executive level were saying, well, we'll do what we can with this book. First off, it's got to make a profit for us, but if it's costing us in terms of distribution and hiring people, well then, we can let it go. It's not like letting go of a Superman book by comparison. I also liken it to a television network saying, well, you've got this show and it's doing middling ratings, but it isn't really profitable to us, so we'll put it on the Sunday night at 2 o'clock slot, and if it makes a few more bucks for us, that's good. And then if it's not working, nobody will be sad when it goes away. Certainly you can see that mindset in issues 8, a little bit in 8, but especially in issues 9 and 10 of the Spectre. So in issue number 8 of the Spectre, with the title The Parchment of Power Perilous, we see the Spectre get quite impatient. He's been out of Jim Corrigan's body for more than a day, and so he's getting pretty tired, and so he races back to Jim Corrigan, and Corrigan, for his part, says, I've been up for 48 hours, Spec. I'm really tired. I can't have you go back into my body right now. That's actually a really important concept I should bring up now before I go ahead. It was established here in the Silver Age that Jim Corrigan had the will to refuse the Spectre entry into his body. The Spectre couldn't just pop in whenever he wanted. It had to be okay with Jim Corrigan. And this is something which Doug Munch would pick up on and expand during the second half of the 1980s. So Corrigan's saying, no, I need you to help out here. I'm in a stakeout here. You've got to help, and then you can rest. So the Spectre gets impatient, and he unleashes a massive energy, takes down the criminals, but at the same time, his blast of energy almost kills an innocent civilian. And so he gets chewed out by Corrigan for this. And then later at night, when Corrigan is asleep, the voice calls to the Spectre and summons him to the heavens. And the voice admonishes the Spectre and says, you almost killed an innocent man. And for that, you need to be taught humility. You will be given a different weakness every time you go out. And that weakness won't appear until you are in moments of great stress. When you're feeling that stress, when you're feeling impatient, that's when the weakness will hit you. And so you can prevent that weakness from exacerbating itself by keeping your cool. But if you don't, this is something which you're going to have to learn from. And we see one such weakness manifest in the Spectre. He's actually stricken blind, and so he has to learn to cool his heels so that he can get his vision back and solve the problem. And this carries on into issue number 9 of the Spectre, where even Corrigan notes that the Spectre seems humbled. He seems doubtful with himself in recent days. But the Spectre and Corrigan have gotten over their tete-a-tete, as seen at the start of issue 8 of the title. But once again, in the first part of issue number 9, which, by the way, was written by Mike Friedrich, the Spectre finds himself tiring, and he needs to get back to Jim Corrigan, which he does so, and he finds that Corrigan is working with a partner, and they're about to get into a shootout with their adversary. So the Spectre, being in dire need of sleep, just has no patience at this point and can't wait on Corrigan and his partner to take the criminals down. The Spectre unleashes his energy on his shooter and kills the man. In fact, he has a few words before he kills the man. So he kills with intent. This is like something of the golden age of the Spectre's stories and more fun. And Corrigan and his partner are mortified by this. And Corrigan's partner says, "How dare you, Spectre? How dare you do that? You cannot take the law into your own hands. You cannot kill a human being." And the Spectre says to Corrigan's partner, "Where do you get off lecturing to me, foolish mortal?" And he knocks Corrigan's partner unconscious. And now Corrigan can't believe what's going on. And he reams out the Spectre and says, "What are you thinking of? You've killed an innocent man. You've knocked out an innocent man. My partner, how dare you? Don't you dare think of getting back into my body. This is not right at all." And it's actually alarming to see what happens to the Spectre next. He becomes very childlike, like a child who is having a tantrum because they're overtired. And the Spectre starts pounding on Jim's chest. The Spectre has taken on the same size as Corrigan. And so he's beating against Corrigan's chest and talking like a small child. "Jim, let me in, let me in." And Corrigan is taking the more high ground here and saying, "No, kiddo, I'm not allowing you in. You cannot do this." So what does the Spectre do? He knocks Corrigan unconscious as well. At which point the voice calls the Spectre to what appears to be the gates of heaven. And it should be noted that Corrigan is left lying on the ground. It's the Spectre who's being called to heaven. And the voice reams out Spectre as well and says, for killing a person, which goes against the Comics Code Authority, and for knocking down 2 innocent civilians, you will be stripped of your awesome powers. And you will have this book chained to you. And it's the Journal of Judgment. And the voice says, "You will not be allowed to walk the earth the way you have for this time. Instead, you are to observe different humans. You are to observe evil or evil intent and to render judgment. And if you complete all of the tasks listed here in this journal, then you will be allowed to return to your mission." And so with the end of Act 1 of issue number 9, the format of the book changes entirely. So there are a second and third story